My name is Patrick Berquist, and I'm the Director of Programs for Episcopal Charities. And this is a first-time applicant orientation. This quick video will be helpful if you are applying for a grant, whether it's BHN or YOG for the first time, or maybe you've been one of our program leaders for a while and you just want a quick brush up on some information. Either way, you're welcome. This will be a brief video. We're going to try to get through a bunch of information, but if you have questions, please reach out to the program office. That email address you'll see at the end is ecprograms@dioceseny.org. Well, with that, let's just get into it. So, Episcopal Charities, we serve an area that's roughly 5.8 million people. It's the footprint of the Episcopal Diocese of New York. So we're from Staten Island all the way up through the Hudson Valley up to like Kingston in Ulster County. We support grassroots outreach programs rooted in Episcopal parishes of the diocese. To date, we've granted somewhere in the range of about $17 million to parish-sponsored outreach programs since 1996 when we were founded. In addition to the monies we grant, what sets us apart is we are very intentional about building relationships with our programs, giving them strategic advice, helping them think strategically about the future, making connections for them, helping them learn new skills and fundraising and those kinds of things. Currently, we support in any given year about 100 different programs, ranging from working in food insecurity, immigration, housing insecurity, homelessness, after-school programs, those who were recently incarcerated, you name it, and we are probably working with a program. Through the programs like yours, we touch the lives of approximately 1 million people every year. And so we're so grateful for the work you all are doing and considering doing. So the kinds of grants, I'm going to focus on two primary grants. That's the Basic Human Need Grant, and that's the Youth Opportunity Grant. The Basic Human Need Grant is you typically apply for it in the fall, while the Youth Opportunity Grant you typically apply for in the spring. The Basic Human Need Grant covers everything from housing insecurity, feeding insecurity, homelessness. Any of those, immigration is a large part of this program. So anything that's dealing with those kind of foundational needs will be found in the Basic Human Need. The Youth Opportunity Grants fill up everything from after-school programs, music programs, summer camp programs, anything that's engaging our youth in positive ways. We want to be a partner with you. Now, we have other grants that are on a rolling basis, and so you'll just need to reach out to us and see where we're at in the process. The COVID-19 Relief Fund will be going for a while. We've suspended, for the moment, the program investment and the professional development grants because we've decided to focus in on COVID-19 and these two primary grants at this point. But depending on when you're watching this, reach out to us and we'll talk from there. Eligibility. So who can apply for an Episcopal Charities grant? Well, first, you have to be located in the Episcopal Diocese of New York. Second, this has to be a community outreach program. While we believe in youth groups and Sunday school programs and fellowship times for a congregation, the monies that we grant at Episcopal Charities is primarily, and actually is only for those programs that are reaching out of the congregation. Feeding programs, after-school programs, all of that kind of stuff is what we're looking for. Every program that we support has to be open to all and free of religious content. Now, we know that many people in the Episcopal Church are serving the world out of a faith commitment, but as a way of being hospitable to everybody. We don't want to place any requirements or pressure on people who are just looking for something to eat. So back when I was leading programs at another place, I knew of places where you had to go to church before they would feed you a meal. We're not doing that here. So that free of religious content and pressure is really important to us. And fourth, you have to be sponsored by a parish of the Episcopal Diocese of New York. So every congregation, every program that we serve has a unique tie-in to a congregation. This means more than just a pass-through, because we will actually give the granting, we'll actually grant the money to the parish and the parish will spend the money. But it has to be some kind of connection. I often describe it, if I come to your coffee hour and I shout out the name of the outreach program that you're applying with, people should know about it. It should be part of the DNA of the parish. And that's going to look different for every parish depending on the size of the parish and the resources. So those are the 4 basic requirements for eligibility for any of our grants. Expectation. So when we're evaluating the grants, we have a few kind of criteria that we're evaluating. That first one is congregational connection. What is that connection? Is it cash and in-kind support? Is it a lot of participation? I want to clarify something. It's not just that members of a parish volunteer at a program, but it's that a program is connected to the parish. There's a mutual relationship there. And that's something that we evaluate and we really look for. We want to know about the quality of the program. Are there clear goals and objectives? Is it sustainable? Are there other funding sources? Are you open to other funding sources and being trained on how to get some of those? We want to help you. We want to make sure this program lasts. We have a very strong sexual misconduct and awareness prevention program. All of our program leaders and those working directly with kids are required to do safeguarding God's children. There's online training. In this slide, I have Andrew Gray. He's the diocesan contact. Every parish has a online administrator in the Diocese of New York. We're happy to talk to you about that requirement and kind of unpack that and flesh that out for your particular program if that's helpful. And finally, we want to know if the program you do is having an impact. We want to know that it's connected to the community you're in, that it's meeting an actual need out there that maybe isn't being met in other ways. So we're going to look at the program impact. And again, every program looks a little different from each other. And so we try to evaluate them slightly differently, but these are kind of our core expectations. About the BHN and the YOG grants. There's no restrictions on the funding for these. These are what we call, these grants are given for general operation of that program. So if you need to buy food, if it's programming or supplies, you don't have to be exact on how you're going to spend it, but you are absolutely required to spend that money on the actual outreach program. The example I often use is, while we think organists are great, you cannot use any of the granted money from Episcopal Charities for anything that's related to the church. So that's really important. The programs must be eligible. The grant funds are not generally available for capital improvements. So you can't fix the furnace with this particular grant money. It has to be used for outreach. I would encourage you, if you have any questions on this, reach out to me, reach out to someone in our program staff, and we're happy to go through all of that with you. It's better to ask than to just do, okay? Our grant making process, this just gives you just a little flow chart of what happens when you apply for a grant at Episcopal Charities. The grant applications come in through our online portal. We have an advisory committee made up of people in each of the 4 regions of the diocese. Those advisory committee members go and visit every program that applies. The advisory committee meets in those subcommittees, and so they're able to make recommendations to our board about funding recommendations. how much we should be spending in these kinds of programs in these locations. Is there equity across our regions? Are we reaching out to communities who aren't able to get other funding? Our board of directors then reviews and approves the grants, and then we send out contracts for the grant. So before you receive any of our payments, and there's 2 payments during the year, you have to sign a contract saying you understand what you're getting this for and that you're going to use it for that. Then we're going to be doing training. Sustainability institutes are required. We want to be in relationship with you. We don't want to just be a check that comes in the mail or is electronically transferred. The application, putting it together. So you can register online in our application system. Those are going to be available here in September when I'm recording this. There's going to be a short video that will be linked probably on this same page that will go through the technicalities of how to go about just the technical aspects of filling out the application. But what I want you to think about in this particular moment is answer the questions that we give you. Try to be succinct, but don't go overboard. We want to make sure that we're getting a clear picture of who you are and what you're trying to do. So actually on the application, let's talk about how to fill it out. One of the big questions people ask me is, how much should I apply for? Well, it depends. We give out about $1 million a year, and we have about 100 programs. So the average grant is somewhere around 10,000. Now, for some of, it depends on the type of program and the need. So we'll be in communication about that. If you have questions about how much you should ask, reach out to us and let's have a conversation before you apply to make sure your numbers are in line with what we do. Balance the emotional and the factual when you're writing your essays. Tell a story with both narrative and numbers in the application. Your numbers and your data that you're going to give us help reinforce the story you're trying to tell us. Be concise but thorough. We put word counts on the application, so don't get too wordy on us. What we've found in years past is that some people have blown up those applications and put everything their parish is actually doing in outreach. What we want to know is the thing you're applying for. We don't need to know everything else. We just want to know what you're applying for so that we can make a good decision. If you're a 501c3, we're going to ask you to submit both your budget for this year and for next year. If you're a parish-based program, we're just going to ask you for your budget this year, especially in the context of COVID-19. We have put strategically throughout the application places where you can explain your answers. Sometimes you put a number down and you're like, well, what that really means is this. Take advantage of that. And lastly, make sure you tell us how your program helps to transform the lives of those in need. That's what we're about. So once you submit the application, it's time for a site visit. One of our advisory committee members will come. This is your chance to show off. This is your chance to tell your story. Advisory committee members are going to have gone through your application. They're going to ask you a bunch of questions about your program. They're going to try to get to know you, trying to understand what your needs are. We would love, in fact, we expect that if there's a parish connection, that maybe it's the clergy in charge are part of that conversation, or vestry members or key members of the congregation, because we want to be able to evaluate that parish connection. We're on your side. We're not there to try to pick every little thing out. We just want to get to know you. We want to understand what you're trying to do and then try to figure out if we can be supportive of that. We're getting close to being the end here, okay? Keep going. So grants management, the responsibility of Episcopal Charities grantees, that would be you if you get a grant. Use the money to run the program you said you would run. It seems very simple, but please use it the way you said you would use it. The contract will state how you're going to use it, and so we want you to honor that contract. If something needs to change, reach out to us and let's have a conversation. Keep good records and prepare to submit an interim report if we ask for it, or even a final report. Then there's some information about Sustainability Institutes, which are training sessions that we offer, and we actually require you to come to 2 each year. So this is it. Episcopal Charities, so ec-ny.org is our website. You can always email myself or SK Doyle or any member of our staff. Or you can just send a general email to ecprograms@dioceseny.org. Thanks so much. We're looking forward to being with you and answering any questions that you might have. Thanks. Have a great day.